Hello guys, in today's video we'll talk about how the blood flows through the heart, that is the circulation of blood in the heart, the cardiac cycle, the sounds of the heart and the pacemaker. So let's start if you have watched the previous video, I have discussed more about the heart, structure of the heart. So following that we'll see how the blood flows through the heart. So the first thing is we know right side has deoxygenated blood and left side has oxygenated blood. So basically, this superior vena cavas and inferior vena cavas are the blood vessels which bring blood to the heart. So superior vena cava and inferior vena cava bring the deoxygenated blood from the body to the right atrium. First, it will bring it to the right atrium. At this time, the atriums and ventricles are relaxed. Therefore, it is easier for the blood to fill in the right atrium. At the same time is happening with the left atrium as well. Okay. Same thing is happening as the left atrium. From the lungs, oxygenated blood is entering the left atrium. So once these atriums are filled, the tricuspid valve is going to close. The atrium will contract first. The atrium will contract and pour all the blood in the right ventricle. And to prevent the backflow of blood, the tricuspid valves will close with a sound. Then same thing is going to happen. From the left atrium, the blood will enter the left ventricle. And here, one more valve is there, that is the bicuspid valve will close. So, to go in a proper flow, we can say, from superior and inferior vena cava blood, deoxygenated blood is going to enter the right atrium. From the right atrium, it will enter the left ventricle. From the left ventricle, through the pulmonary valve, there is a pulmonary valve between the ventricles and the pulmonary artery. With this, the backflow of blood is prevented again in the ventricle. So to the right ventricle, the blood will enter the pulmonary artery. The pulmonary artery takes this blood for oxygenation to the lungs. Again from the lungs now, the oxygenated blood will enter the left atrium. The oxygenated blood from the lungs will enter the left atrium. From the left atrium, it will enter the left ventricle. Here we have one more valve known as the bicuspid or the mitral valve. And from the left ventricle, it will go to the aorta, where the aorta will distribute it to the rest of the body. So we can see the blood is entering a heart twice. So one is when it is going for oxygenation, and the second one when it is returning after it is getting oxygenated. Therefore, in this heart, the blood enters twice. So we have two circulations known as the pulmonary circulation and the systemic circulation. So from the right atrium, when the blood goes to the lungs for oxygenation, this is the pulmonary circulation, and when from the lungs the blood comes to the left atrium and from the aorta it is given back to the rest of the body, this is called as the systemic circulation. So this was about the circulation of the heart. Next we have is the heartbeat. Okay, heartbeat and the cardiac cycle. So we know we heard this lub-dub sound when we put a stethoscope to our heart. We can hear this lub-dub sound. So that is the heartbeat. Now, what reasons are there for the cause of these heartbeats? So before that, we need to know about the cardiac cycle. Okay. So there are two fancy words for relaxation and contraction. So the systole. The two words are systole and diastole. Systole is nothing but the contractions of the heart. the contraction of the atrium, the contraction of the ventricle. Contraction means systole. So suppose when the atrium is contracting, this means the atrium is pouring all its blood. It is contracting and is pouring all its blood into the ventricle. Diastole, on the other hand, is relaxation of the heart. No contraction, just it is relaxed, which is helpful for the filling of the heart. So when the auricle or when the atrium is relaxed or in a diastole, it is allowing the atrium to fill with blood as it is relaxed. So this cardiac cycle lasts for a total of 0.8 seconds. Okay. Cardiac cycle lasts for 0.8 seconds. So let's see how this happens. In the beginning of the heartbeat, all the chambers, that is the atrium and the ventricles, are relaxed. They are completely relaxed. This is also known as a cardiac diastole or a joint diastole, where the whole heart is completely relaxed. Then what happens is, when the heart is in a cardiac diastole, the blood from the superior and inferior vena cava is filling this atrium here. Okay, once the atrium is filled completely, then the atrium will contract. That is, atrial systole will happen. The ventricle is still in the diastole, so the blood will enter the ventricle from the atrium when the atrium is going to contract. See, atria contracts, pushing the blood into the ventricles. Then we will have the atrial diastole. That means the atrium is going to relax, and ventricular systole. In ventricular systole, what is going to happen? The blood from the ventricles will go, like from the right side, it will go to the pulmonary artery, and from the left side, it will go to the aorta. Correct? So when the ventricular systole happens, the atria is relaxed and the ventricles contract. As the ventricles contract, it is pushing the blood out of the heart. Again, followed by this cardiac diastole, where this whole process, one cycle is completed, the whole heart completely relaxes. This is going to be called again as a joint diastole or a cardiac diastole. So we have, we have this. The total cardiac cycle was for 0.8 seconds, correct? So for this atrial systole lasts for 0.1 second, ventricular systole lasts for 0.3 seconds, and this complete cardiac diastole lasts for 0.4 seconds, contributing together the cardiac cycle is for 0.8 seconds. I hope you all have understood this part. Next part is the lub-dub. When we hear this sound, when a stethoscope is put to the chest, the doctor, if anytime you've tried it, or the doctor mostly hears a lub-dub sound when you put a stethoscope through the heart. What exactly is this lub-dub sound? Now, the lub-dub sound is actually the sound of the closing of valves. So the first sound, which is lub, is quite long and it is a bit low. This sound is produced when the atrioventricular valves, which is the atrioventricular valves, which is the bicuspid and tricuspid valves. The valves present between the atrium and the ventricle are known as the atrioventricular valves. So the first sound, lub, is produced when these valves, that is the AV valves, close. So first sound is the lub. Second sound is the dub sound, which is quite sharp and it is sorted out. So this sound is of, the sound is of the closing of the semilunar valves. This sound is of the closing of the semilunar valves. That is the aortic semilunar valve and the pulmonary semilunar valve. So the sound lub-dub is due to the contraction, is due to the closing of the valves in the heart. First sound lub is due to the closing of the atrioventricular valves, and second sound dub is the sound of closing of the semilunar valves. Okay. The next part is the heart rate. In this slide, I just want you all to know that the smaller the organism, smaller the size of that organism, faster its heart is going to beat. जितना छोटा organism होगा उतनी ही fast उसकी heart beat होगी. So look at this here. So normal child's heart rate, normal child is going to be as high as 100 beats per minute. Infant में normal child का heart beat 100 है. Infant में it is high as 120. I hope you all know what is the infant. Infant is a child below 1 age. Below 1. And then a fetus has a heartbeat of almost 140 per minute. A child, fetus is the smallest part, followed by the infant and then the child. So we can see as the child is growing up, his heartbeat is reducing per minute. So smaller the organism is going to be, faster uska heartbeat is going to be. I mean, here you can see this whale is, whale is a very big animal. Elephants, humans, cats. See, this is a mice. This is a human, 72 beats per minute. This is a mice, 420 beats per minute. So smaller the animal, faster the heartbeat. Then we have this pacemaker. इतना सारा हार्ट में हो रहा है circulation. Starting point कोई तो होगा ना. Unless and until we have an impulse to do a certain thing, how will we do it? Correct? So heart का भी एक pacemaker है, known as the SA node or sinoatrial node. This SA node, and we have the pacemaker is the SA node. We have two nodes. One is the SA node located at the entry of the superior vena cava near the right atrium. Okay, and दूसरा है AV node, that is atrioventricular node, जो यहाँ पे present है. तो ये SA node का क्या काम है? It initiates the heartbeat. ये start करता है and then जो impulse है वो पूरे heart में carry out होता है and the cycle of the heart goes on. So first this impulse starts from this SA node here, which is there at the right atrium at the entry of the superior vena cava. यहाँ से ये impulse carry होता है हमारे AV node के पास. AV node के पास carry होगा. Now ये जो AV node है, इस AV node से you can see it here. I don't think we'll be able to change this color. I'll use a pointer out here now. ये हमारा AV node है. इस AV node से originate होता है ये bundle of His. Bundle of His originate होगा जो नीचे in the sense through the ventricle, near the ventricle it will branch and it will become Purkinje fibers which are entering the ventricles. So देखो SA node से impulse pass होगा AV node में. AV node से from the bundle of His it will go or it will be transmitted to this Purkinje fibers which are entering the ventricles on the left side as the right side. ठीक है, तो AV node से originate होता है bundle of His के कुछ fibers निकलते हैं जो penetrate होते हैं into the ventricles known as the Purkinje fibers. तो ये था pacemaker का. And इधर ही हम लोग आज का वीडियो एंड करते हैं. This is what happens. So we learned about the pacemaker. We saw the the cardiac cycle or the heartbeat. We saw about the sounds of the heart, and we saw how exactly the circulation of blood takes place inside the heart. I hope you all have understood the video and the the concepts are quite clear. We'll be back with another video next time on the same chapter. Hope you all have understood it. Bye bye and see you all later.